let's hit that intro. This is coming from our heart. This is not coming from somebody asking us to do this. We believe that this is one of the most important conversations we can have right now.
We want to invite you on a journey.
Yeah,
a conversation. This isn't just for us.
All right, let's go.
Let's go. Let's get to it. Yeah, chapter 7. This is great. And again, we invite you to collaborate with us. Put something in the chat, maybe where you're from. And good morning, Richard. Thanks for connecting. We like this to be a conversation, right? It's
absolutely.
If you have a thought or an idea on something that has come up in conversation here, please join us in the chat. And we'll engage with you. We love doing that. So please be a part of that.
And really, they can steer the conversation.
Yeah,
right.
Certainly.
Really, that's what we want. Is
Yeah.
if you have something that you want to talk about, especially if it's part of our topic here, throw that out there. And I've heard people say, "Well, you've passed the topic before I can post." Well, that's fine. We'll come back.
Yeah,
we'll circle back.
Circle back.
We're here for you.
And even after, if you're watching this, post our event, put a comment
there,
if it's something that speaks to you. We'll engage with you in that too, beyond our live segment. So chapter 7. What a great chapter! A lot here to dive in on, and the idea of a seen church. I just love that in this segment. There's some really good points or some things to take to our churches and to consider as we, are we doing enough to adequately preparing the church leaders for tomorrow of 2050? And we talked about that.
Well, what I love about this chapter, Scott, we talked about last time about the loving, caring adult for those kids that don't have that. Now we're talking about kids who do have that and whose parents are in church.
Right.
But they still need the church.
There's way more that they can get in that community of believers. And we've talked about that even with the loving, caring adult. Our parents had a huge impact in our lives, but wow, some of those other adults that came in and invited us into their space and got to know us more than just a name, right? And built life on life kind of concepts with us, and how that impact us in an incredible way, maybe even more so than our parents may have.
Well, I've said before, I've said it here, and I've said it to a lot of other people. I'm thankful for godly parents who poured into me. Mm-hmm. But I look back now and I see they were telling me something and I didn't want to listen, but that loving, caring adult, somebody from church came alongside. They told me the exact same thing. And I'm like, that's a good idea, because it wasn't from my parents.
Oh, yeah.
And they were able to pour into me. And this is close to my heart because I am so thankful, and I mention it from the pulpit often. In our church, we have several adults. I say my kids just have oodles of grandmas and grandpas and aunts and uncles in our church. And they love our kids. They pour into our kids. And that means a ton because that's part of what's going to help those kids be grounded. It's going to give them that belonging more than this. Yep. This is mom and dad's church. This is my community. This is my place.
Right.
And we need that so much. And so I'm excited to talk about this. So let's dive into this for sure. Let's jump right into here.
I love that at the beginning, obviously talking about, that the Lord does not look at things people look at. And I think that's this concept of the seen church that, people look at oftentimes the outward appearance or the misbehavior. Right. Those kids that are a problem child that are in our clubs that we like, oh, what do we do with this child? Well, we look at it that way where the Lord is looking at the heart, right? The Lord is looking at the heart of the child. And this chapter really brought that out, that we've got to know the kids more than just a name and invest in their lives, get to find out where they're coming from.
Right.
Find out what's going on in their lives because
genuinely care about them.
Because there's so much more underneath the surface.
Yeah, the other day we were in church and church was over and I was getting ready to leave and I had my boy, he's 6, and we were getting ready to leave and I look and he's sitting with the fellow who disciples me, who mentors me, and they're just having a conversation. Yeah. And I said, well, I'm not going anywhere. I'm just going to let them have that conversation. So it was kind of that was one of those adopted grandpa moments. And,
Yeah.
And it's just fun to watch them pour in. I really appreciated the call out here is that sometimes it takes a third party to help parents see their child.
Okay.
And reminded of that because as parents, we're around our kids all the time. We tend to see the faults, even when they're being doing what we've trained them to do. We don't always see that because we just tend to see the worst side of it.
Right.
And I mean, the very practical example of that is, we'll go out to eat, take the kids out to eat. And even in that moment, we're like, I wish they would just sit and be good.
Right.
And then somebody will come up to us and say, man, we really appreciate your kids. They're the best behaved kids. And I'm thinking, what kids are you seeing?
What planet are you on? Exactly.
But then it's that reminder of, God is working.
Yeah.
God, we tend to see all the areas that still need work. Mm-hmm. And even sometimes just that reminder for parents to say, God is working in their heart. God is using the things you're teaching them.
Yeah. And it's good for us as parents. Again, we like to try to speak to three audiences on this in our time together. The church leader, the pastor, right? That might be leading and shepherding a flock that is wanting to engage in this conversation. Yeah. And then you have the leader, might be a child leader, right?
Right.
Who's working with kids. And then you have the parents. And sometimes as parents, and you're speaking of it, even last night for us, we have like blinders on, right? And to be open our eyes to those moments when our kids, they do something that it's like, wow, praise the Lord.
Right.
Like we saw that recently with one of our kids, and it was good to just verbalize it because oftentimes it's like, oh my goodness, I can't, where is this? What's going on here? Our kids frustrating us,
right.
like to boot, and but God is doing a work, and oftentimes you're right. The person outside will see and share that.
Yeah, and I think there's another side of that too. That's really cool. One of those couples in our church that really pours into our kids, and not just our kids, others as well. They never miss a birthday. Every Sunday, the week of the birthday, you come into church. They've got something for them. Very thoughtful. Yep. It's not just they love our kids. They know what they like, and so they've built this connection. And they're going through a difficult time. He just came home from the hospital, and my wife actually, with the kids, went down to pick them up to bring them home. And she said they just couldn't wait to see him.
Oh yeah,
they've been praying for him. There's a connection both ways. Once you start to connect, and that was fun for us to watch them care and love on somebody in their church, but it's because they had been loved on.
They have that relationship.
Right. This wasn't just somebody in church.
Yeah.
This was somebody who has connected with them, and they were thrilled to be a part of that.
Mm-hmm. And in this book talks about, we are loved into loving Jesus. I mean, that is a true statement. Like we could, read the Bible and have the biblical knowledge, but until we see practical love, until we see somebody caring for us and see the love of Christ, it's hard to come to Christ and until we see it. So it's so important as leaders in churches and pastors, the work that you're doing, engaging with these kids. In this chapter, it also talks about I wanted an independent study and asked some pretty pointed questions. Like when you think of children's ministry, moving forward, what are some of your things that you look for first, and the importance? Yeah. And it said, number one, the gospel.
Mm-hmm. Right. Good job. That's a good thing, right?
Good job. Good job. But then number two is it easy? Wow. Mm-hmm. Right? And I think we've lived in our culture within the church that, man, we got to make it easy. It's got to be something we can simply do to fill that time. And unfortunately, at times it's like the idea goes to, at some level, maybe like almost babysitting our kids. That's what the focus ends up being.
Well, don't we often as Awana, as somebody who's leading Awana or a youth ministry or whatever, nursery, doesn't matter, children's church, don't we often cheapen it because we're so desperate for help? Like, just come sit with them, Scott. You don't even have to do anything. Yeah. We just need another
low
person.
Expectation.
Yeah, we set this low expectation
low
instead
bar.
of finding somebody that and say, look,
passionate.
this is a great opportunity for you to invest in tomorrow's leaders.
Yeah,
come and pour into their life, and they're going to love you for that. They're gonna they're going to return that love. It's going to be so much fun.
And so vision really speaks, having people that are passionate about being there and understanding the importance of what they're doing. You're just not filling some shoes and just listening to, verses, or just, spending time sharing a gospel, a message, or, it's getting to know the kids. It's investing in their lives. It's doing life on life that we've talked a lot about,
Right.
And so taking a step back, if you're a pastor or a ministry leader, to ask those, those questions. Okay, why are we doing these things?
Right.
What's the importance of this? And instead of just going, oh, we're going to do this, we're going to do a VBS. Okay, we're going to do this. Well, why?
There's that question again, right? Why? Why are we doing this?
Why is this important? And I was actually sitting in a VBS meeting recently in an undisclosed location, and it was just interesting because it was like, okay, we're going to do this, and here's the details, and let's, are we going to do a 3-day or 5-day, and some of those questions, and it was like, never asked why. What's important? Why are we doing a VBS? And I think that's something we've got to do is invest in that, to get the passion for child discipleship. And we're doing it so we can disciple these kids and share the gospel.
If we don't know why we're doing anything, we're just not going to do it well. We've got to know why. And
I think so.
And with anything we're doing with the kids, why are we doing this?
And if we have that mentality, that trickles down from the leadership, from those who put it together, bathing it all in prayer. That trickles down to the leaders. They'll see it.
Yeah.
They'll understand why we're doing it, because of the way we approach things and our attitude.
And I was reminded this week too that sometimes I think we might overthink this and say, okay, how do I do this? How do I do life on life with kids? And there's a lot of ways to do it, and you need to actually spend time with them. But I was reminded this week, talking to one of my Awana leaders. He's talking to one of the boys in his group, and he really likes to just slow down. He's really learned to just slow down and pour into the kids. And apparently a while back he was sharing some struggles with these kids that he had gone through, and how he had prayed for a really long time for something in his life, and God finally answered that, like 10 years of prayer. And he shared that with the kids. And often I think we think, well, these are adult problems, these are adult things, the kids don't care. It says here they need to be part of a living organism of faith. We need to live that out. That's part of the life on life. And so he was talking about something else Wednesday night, and he said, this little boy says, well, Mr. Todd, didn't you just told us about da-da-da-da? And that was a while ago that he told him about that, but it stuck.
Right.
This wasn't, even sometimes just sharing our struggles. And don't overthink
Being real.
it. Yeah, because we think, well, they're just kids, they're not going to get it. We should know by now, our kids soak up way more than we think they do.
Well, and coming back to those meetings and when we're thinking about doing something, it's no one's fault that that's the way we do. This is how we've been doing things for a long time.
Right. It's what we know.
Yeah. Well, so we're going to do this. We're going to plan this. It's the culture.
Right.
And I think that's what needs to change within some of our churches. And
there's that adage, we don't know what we don't know. They're just doing what they've been taught. Yeah. I did that. I had to come to that place when we started really looking at the culture of disciple making in our church to realize I have been doing what I have been taught, because that's what the people who taught me were taught. It goes a long ways back. It's not easy to start changing that culture.
Yeah, and if it doesn't, if what you want to do, it doesn't align with reasoning why you're going to do it, then should you really do it?
Right.
I think that's. And I think we've come out of COVID, and I just talked to a pastor just earlier today, and, the people that are with him in his ministry and the ministries that they are doing, they understand why they're doing them. I mean, COVID kind of did that.
Right.
It's kind of like wake up, like, why are we doing some of these things? Because you had to reevaluate, and that's kind of a good thing that's come out of COVID.
Yeah, and that's where I'm thankful as a church. Not that we're perfect by any means. In fact, I had a conversation this week with somebody about some ministries that I'm still like, well, why? Why are we doing this? So it's not that we're there completely, but I love it when I hear people in the church say, well, why? Why are we going to do this? Or why are we doing this? And
Asking
start to really
questions.
think through what is the purpose. And we need to do that constantly with our kids.
Yep. So if you're out there, join with us in this. Is there something that sticks out to you in this chapter, with this concept of the seen church? What is, what my big question in this, with this chapter and really with where we're at within church ministry is asking, post-COVID, what do we need to do to see this change in our culture within the church, to have a emphasis and have passion about child discipleship? How do we grow that and well that up in the church?
Maybe I should challenge that. Why does it have to be post-COVID? Because were we doing it pre-COVID?
Well, right. But I think I say post-COVID because there's almost like a sense within our churches like we are getting by. We got to get by.
Oh, sure.
We got to close the door. We got to try.
So that has to change first.
Yeah, we got to bring the people back from viewing our services online. Like they need to be come back and be a part of the church.
Well, here's what you need. If you're a pastor listening, here's my challenge to that: just go with what you have.
Yeah,
I mean, you can continue to work and try to bring those people back. But if you're just waiting for people to come back, then you're never going to do anything. At this point, it's a matter of just moving forward.
So, okay, maybe throw COVID out of there. How do we build a culture then that has a passion and a drive for child discipleship? And I think the resilient conversation is the piece. Right. It's asking those tough questions.
But I think this chapter. To my point, in my view, proves something. You and I have had this conversation over and over and over again. It's even brought up, I think, at the end of this chapter, the idea of, well, if child discipleship starts in the church, if discipleship starts in the children's ring, it's going to pour out into the church. And I can agree with that to an extent. That's probably one of the places I would disagree with this book the most. And this proves it, because if it's starting in the children's wing, how are the other people? I'm not in the children's wing. So how am I going to see these kids? I need a culture. There needs to be a culture of disciple making in the adults as well.
Well, the leaders need to catch the vision.
So, it's simple things. For me, I just try every Sunday to take time for the kids. I mean, it's nothing fancy. We don't do children's sermon. But when the kids come in, I high five them. We talk. We have, right down to the little ones. I try. I mean, we've got a lot, so I don't get to all of them every day. But I just want that. I want to be able to have that relationship with the little kids, little things. When we had a couple Sundays, I think it was about a year ago or so, where we were live streaming because everybody was sick, and I caught wind that one of the little guys told his dad something about, well, I wish Pastor would wear something red, wear a red sweatshirt or something. So I live streamed the morning service in a red sweatshirt. And he thought it was the coolest thing. I mean, he's just a little guy. But it's things like that. Just be real and have fun with the kids. Yeah. And even in that, we set the example. And I see that. And when I talk about all these aunts, uncles, grandpas in the church, that's what it is. I told you the story of the guy who was pouring into my little guy. That wasn't an accident. He was intentionally, because that's where his heart was. We've set that culture, and he intentionally was taking time because he understands at 6 years old he needs that.
So if we find the right leaders to be intentional about seeing these kids and investing in them, then I think the heart would come there, the passion for, well, now we can do something with that. And I know that the book talks quite a bit about that. Now, these churches that are seeing that these kids were coming, like they're rambunctious, and why are they rambunctious? They ask the child an actual simple question: why do you have all this energy? What's going on? Why are you angry? I haven't had dinner. I haven't eaten all day. He was hangry. Yeah. And so they met the need, and then they were able to, then be able to disciple. It says it's critical that the church, this is on, I would say 106 of chapter 7 here. It's critical that the church falls in love with children and the work of God in their lives again. It's truly time. It's time. And I think that's what I want to try to ask our people that are watching this and viewing this. How can we become more intentional? What are some things we can actually put into practice from this chapter to be more of that seeing church that invests in the kids and doesn't just do a program to do it, or do something,
this is like zero program. This is just effort on your own part.
Right. Exactly. And how do we do that, and having that mindset? Because we don't want to miss an opportunity for these kids to have that sense of belonging in a ministry. Then we're going to
So maybe I should follow that up with another question. I think that's a great question. And we want to hear from you guys today. Let us know, how are some ways, and just think personally, this Sunday when I go to church, what can I do?
Yeah.
How can I pour in? Or maybe even let us hear, what are some things that hold you or you see holding the church back? What can we, maybe I need to hear from you as a pastor and say, oh yeah, maybe that's something I hadn't thought of that I need to lead, work on leading in my church.
Yeah.
So let's open up. We got about 5 minutes. We're really trying hard to stick to this half
gonna
hour.
Be tough.
I feel like we've left a lot on the table today. But,
there always is.
Let us know too, guys. Let us know if you felt like this was really short. Then let us know. But
Richard puts on there, genuinely show the kids that you are glad to see them. Wow,
such a big thing.
Yeah, and sometimes we come into the Sunday time or the Wednesday wherever you have your midweek service. And we come into it with our, all of our bag, the stuff that's been going on in our lives, and it has been stressful. I mean, my goodness, what have we seen in the past 6 months to a year, or 2 years? We've seen COVID. Now we're seeing a war happening.
Yeah.
I mean, this is impacting us, but it's also impacting the kids. But coming to that time and having refocus our mentality, this is something practically you can do, is, okay, I'm here to serve the kids. I'm here to build into their lives. I'm here, Lord, help me. Help me to see these kids where they're at tonight or today, and be open for those moments, and don't let them go.
You just hit on something, Scott. One of the things that I'm consistently reminding my people of, we don't come to church to get. We should not come to church to get. We often do. Yes, there's a time of being fed from the word, but if that's the main reason, we're told not to forsake the assembling of ourselves together, not so that we can come and be fed, but so that we can go and encourage others, right? So let's take that concept. So consistently, I'm reminding our people, when you go to church on Sunday, what you just said, that prayer we should be praying that prayer in the car about anybody in church.
Right.
Lord, lead me to somebody.
Yeah.
So now let's take that another step, and we've said it a million times on here. The church, the kids are not the next generation of church or tomorrow's church. They are today's church. They're tomorrow's leaders.
Right.
If that's the case, really what I'm hearing is we just need to not overlook the kids.
Yeah, well, exactly. But that's what I'm saying. I think that's a wake up that needs to happen.
Right.
We need to have a holy discontentment.
Yes.
As John Tyson.
Yeah.
We're going to talk more about that when we come to our topic on Child Discipleship Summit. But a holy discontentment about where we're at with training the future leaders of the church.
Right.
And we've got to feel that as pastors, as parents, as leaders in our church, in the children's wing. We've got to feel that, and it has to be something that wells up inside of us to have that holy ambition, then to make significant changes in how we do things, and ask that question, why?
Yes.
And then from the why, spend a lot of time there, then discover, well, what? And how do we accomplish this then? How do we build that culture to accomplish that?
I had a really neat, just a really encouraging, I guess I would call it compliment. I don't like to me, when somebody says great sermon, pastor, that doesn't mean a lot, right?
Yeah.
But when I was preaching Sunday, I just mentioned that I keep hearing this idea of we're in the end times, and it's more of a panic, or even a disconnect, like, hey, we're in the end times, I'm done, like Lord, just come take me home. And rather than an engagement and I was preaching and talking about that holy discontentment on Sunday, and I said, guys, if we truly believe we're in the end times, why are we not so much more zealously pursuing people and just driving for people, like you said, just praying, God,
Yeah.
It's not about me anymore. If we believe we're in the end times, we have a job to do. That's what 1 Thessalonians tells us, and it includes the kids.
It really does. Yeah, it should not exclude them.
Right. Because yes, Bible says we're in the end times, but we might not be the last generation. That's how one of my guys put it. One of the guys in my church put it Wednesday night.
Yeah.
Are we in the end times? Well, yeah, I believe the Bible tells us we are, but we may not be in the last generation. And so we know the world is going to get worse and worse and worse. So we need to do everything we can for our kids to prepare them. And that may mean you investing in someone else's life, even if they have good Christian parents.
Yeah, even if they have good Christian parents. And that's something that this book talked about too, is that scene church is a place where the kids will run to because and it'll be with them for the rest of their lives, kind of that like nostalgic place that I want to be at.
Yeah.
I love being there. I want it tonight. I'm so excited about Awana. Or Sunday morning, I cannot wait to connect with my Sunday school leader or that parent that I know is going to ask me how my week went. Like give them that belonging, that sense of place where this is a sweet place to be. Right. And I want to be there. And that's a church culture that
that changes really everything, because then even as an adult, you're not haphazard. You're in church consistently, faithfully, not because it's a legalistic thing we have to check off a list, because we genuinely want to be there.
Yep, we want to be there, certainly.
Well, I think that's it for us today.
Yeah.
Wow. That was a quickie.
Well, and I know too, like, beyond this, certainly we want you to engage with our conversation beyond this. I want to ask a question that it has in the book here at the end of this chapter. Has there been a church, but there was a church in your life, and how, the individual, that loving, caring adult, like, share a story you might have of somebody
that would be cool.
It would be really cool. Like if you have a story that you could share that really has impacted you with, somebody in the church, there was a church story, but there was a church story. We'd love to hear about that, and then be able to engage in that. Because I know in my own life, there was a church, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And I grew up in a Christian home, but there was a church. There were individuals, there were people, there were, the Sunday school teachers that, invested in me. And even to this day, I go to that church and they're like, "Oh, hi, Scott." They remember me. I remember you as this little thing,
right.
And I thank them for the investment of their time and effort.
Maybe I shared a picture on my Facebook page, like on my personal one. I'll share it here.
Yeah.
When we get off.
Good.
I'll find it. I'll share it on Resilient. It was just cool. What happened Sunday? It just triggered in my mind because a friend of mine I grew up with. We were like, every Sunday afternoon I was trying to go to his house or he was trying to come to my house. His dad was one that I would say was one of those loving and caring adults. He was a Sunday school teacher and, just loved us boys. But anyways, it was my best friend and his little brother. And back in 1988, we were at home, one of those Sunday afternoons, right? And my mom just snapped a picture of us sitting around the table, back in 1988. And I put that picture up, and then I went and I took live streams from 3 different churches on Sunday, all 3 of us preaching in different places in the country Sunday. And I said, from one Sunday to another Sunday, 33 years later, there was a church.
There was a church.
Yeah. In fact, our toddler teacher, like when we were in toddlers, she said, I guess it was worth putting up with them all that time. Yeah. The Lord has used this lady. She has poured generations of people on the mission field, pastors.
Yeah.
And she just, for years, she was just a toddler teacher, and she poured into kids.
But there was a church. And, as we think about 2050 and those kids that are in our ministry today, but there was a church. You are that leader that can invest in the life of that child so that they can become like this guy right here.
Right? Or this guy.
Well, but, that's the important thing. I mean, where are we going to be at in 2050? Oh my goodness. It's going to be crazy. We think it's crazy today, wow.
Yeah.
So they've got to be ready. They've got to be ready. And so the investment we place in their lives today matters. It matters.
Always.
So.
All right. Well, thanks so much for watching. Let us know, please. I keep saying it, but we want to know, did you like this? Was this too short? Do you want it to be longer? We can talk forever. So if you say you want it longer, we're not going to complain. But we're really trying to help those of you who are watching because we know you're busy. And thanks.
Hi, Tim.
Thanks for jumping on here and being a part of this. Let's keep the conversation going.
Certainly. All right.
Talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.